G'day, Dr. Nick here, and continuing this series, I want to ask you a question. In your workplace, can you recall someone having an incident, especially a serious incident? Now, whether that's in transport or mining or construction, manufacturing, it doesn't really matter. Usually what you find, if someone's had a serious incident, the first thing that happens is they get drug and alcohol tested. It's like there's an assumption that if they can rule that out, then they can rule out most of the impairments that can cause serious incidents to occur. Now, this would be nice if only we had a test for fatigue, wouldn't it? So, I do a lot of fatigue incident investigations, and when I do this, I see that there are a lot of people do incident investigations and they completely miss the right bits of evidence to look for to find out if perhaps that person may have been impaired by fatigue. And this is quite interesting because, a lot of these incident outcomes would suggest that this human error means that this particular person needs to be retrained at what he or she does. And, I often scoff at this because I wonder, is that going to make any difference to having similar incidents in the future? I would think not. If you know how to successfully collect the right information on incident investigation regarding fatigue, then you might just get to a point where you might find out that the controls that you put in place post-incident would be much more applicable and useful compared to just simply retraining someone. All right, so let's have a bit of a look at some of these things. What sort of questions might you ask? Well, usually if you're thinking that fatigue may have been involved, you would ask a question like, how much sleep did you get last night? Well, that's not a good way to ask that question, because if you think you might be in trouble, you're going to say 8 hours. So a better way of asking that question would be, what time did you wake up this morning? And when they tell you that, you can work out from there how long they've been awake at this point. You can also say to them, what time did you go to bed last night? And did you get straight to sleep, or did you have some troubles? Once they've told you those two bits of information, then you can work out for yourself how much sleep they got. Because when you ask them what time they wake up, they're just thinking about what time did I wake up? And when you ask them what time they go to bed or went to bed last night, they'll focus on that. They do not focus on telling you what they think you need to know, which is, I got 8 hours sleep. So that's one of the questions to ask. You can also look at the timing of the incident, whether it's during the night or during the early morning, during the afternoon. There are certain points in the day that are much higher risk for fatigue incidents than others. Probably the worst time would be around 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 to 5 in a lot of cases. If you're driving at that point, that is a really risky point. Between 1 and about 3 in the afternoon is also a high risk time to be driving. I find that in a lot of workplaces that are doing around 12 hours, 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon is quite a risky one for incidents. And another spot seems to be about 11 o'clock at night and say half an hour either side of that. So if someone is on night shift and they've only just started on night shift, don't forget that they would have been on day shift before that, and oftentimes they'll be going to bed at say 9 or 10 or something. You would expect the brain on the first couple of night shifts to be wanting them to go to bed at that same time again, even if they've prepared well. But anyway, that's the way that is. There's a whole lot of other things to look for in fatigue incident investigation. And if you really would love to know a lot more about that, get in contact with me through my website. It's just to my right-hand side there, beyondmidnight.org. I can help you to learn what you need to do. I can help you with investigations if you like. I currently do a lot of investigations for major crashes on the roads where the police have charged a driver with dangerous driving occasioning death if they think that driver may have fallen asleep at the wheel. Look, this is all very important, and as I said, if you just go into an incident thinking, oh, were they full of drugs or alcohol, you're missing usually a much larger and more menacing problem than drugs and alcohol in the workplace. Fatigue a long way outweighs drugs and alcohol in the workplace. Now that we've got drug testing and alcohol testing in the workplace, fatigue is the one thing that's left behind, doing a lot of damage. And you might have heard stories about, Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island and a few of those things. Well, look, I'm not going to tell you they were caused by fatigue. They occurred at night time, which does line up with circadian low points, but not directly attributed to fatigue. But I do see a lot of incidents in the workplace that are attributed to fatigue that people just don't see. When people do what you would imagine to be a really dumb thing, for example, putting your hand into a saw, or getting caught in a pinch point, or not seeing things and falling over them, taking risks that you damn well know you shouldn't. Some of these things are caused by fatigue impairment, causing your brain to lose sight of what is really important, especially regarding your safety. So we need to, I guess, up the ante on that. Some people say to me, we only work night shift, so we only work day shift, so there's no problems with fatigue. And I say to them, oh, so you assume that all of your employees are sleeping well every night, is that correct? And they go, oh, I didn't actually think of that. So no, as long as a person is not getting the sleep they need, they will go to the workplace impaired. They carry that impairment around with them. The longer they work, and if they go through some of these circadian low points, the more impaired they become, the bigger the risks they take, and often the outcomes are worse because they don't see the hazard before it basically bites them in the backside. So we need to think of fatigue when we think incidents, instead of just looking for drugs and alcohol impairment, or does this person need retraining because they've done a stupid thing. Think about what are the consequences of being impaired by fatigue and doing that role. So that's me for another session. Thanks for listening. Visit my website. By all means, leave feedback, send me an email and ask questions and guide me through what you would love to hear over these further sessions. Dr. Nick signing off. Have a fantastic day. Bye.